right, we're back, right? 2024, we're ready to roll. The One to Go show coming back at you. I'm Ryan Aho. That is the Bert Lehman. And of course, we got Coach Kraus back with us for another season here of the One to Go show. Happy New Year, guys. How was the holidays?
Holidays were good. I actually, this was the night before New Year's Eve. I actually went to a hockey game.
I saw that. Kraus had to be pretty proud of you. Puka probably proud of you. I mean, that's worth talking about. Was there any fights?
There was a couple of fights. It was Green Bay Gamblers. They're like a semi-pro team in Green Bay, and they were playing a USA Nationals team of some sort. And so I haven't been to a Gamblers game since, I would say, the 1990s. So it was fun, though.
Nice. Attaboy. Kraus, how you doing, man? How's hockey going?
I'm doing well. Bert, if you went to watch a Gambler game in the 90s, you might have seen me play because I was playing for the North Iowa Huskies at the time when we played the game.
Oh.
So Who knows? You might have been all I remember the first time we were there, Bert. I can't remember the rink was, but it was where the UW Green Bay basketball team played, the Gamblers.
Yep.
So when we walked in, the basketball court was there was no rink set up yet. We're like, what's going on here? And then, they obviously had the rink underneath. They had it covered, and they took the basketball court off. And then sure enough, we were playing hockey right after that.
So
did you win?
We won. We did. Yes, we did.
Well, and did you take time to tour the Packer Hall of Fame, which is right across the road?
No, I remember driving by and seeing Lambeau Field, and I gave a few Tulsa shootout messages because that was kind of the gesture of that's what everybody was flying. Who's number one? That's what I gave the Lambeau Field, and never even looked, got mad at it, and then went and played hockey.
I'm speaking of Lambeau Field, so the Vikings, they're officially done. I mean, yeah, mathematically, but I'm from Illinois now, right? So I got go Bears, bear down, baby. We got to have some Bears victory here this weekend, so the Packers can go 2 years in a row losing on the final game. That's what I'm kind of hoping. I mean, I got to be the typical Vikings fan, right? We can't win, so we got to cheer against the Packers. That's just what we do. So
I just have one more thing, Jeff. Where you played, though, that's no longer there because I'm sure you played in the Brown County Arena. And they tore that down, and they built a new arena there not the exact same spot right next to it. And so you'll have to come check it out sometime. Maybe we'll have to go see a hockey game.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I know they tore that down too. So it's kind of cool just seeing all those rinks and where we played and realize that, we travel like an hour, maybe 4 hours. And back when I was in Mason City, I mean, we were traveling to, like I said, we were going to Green Bay, over to Lincoln, down to Omaha, all the teams in the USHL and traveling around. So it's pretty cool to see that. But it's the only time I've been to Green Bay. So I did get out of there with a victory. That's the only thing that counts.
And
I love it.
Just to tie this all into racing, the old Brown County Arena, there was a promoter that used to put on it was called, it's similar to the World on Wheels. It was like an old car show, but some people would bring race cars. And so Full Throttle would have a booth, and our booth was actually in the Brown County Arena. So there were race cars in the Brown County Arena for that show. And the cool thing about that is, where Lambeau is, and they have the big parking lot, and where the Brown County Arena was. At the end of the show, the race cars, the drivers will just start them up, and they drive on the street to drive them to the parking lot by Lambeau to load them.
Nice. Go out and whip some shitties in the middle of the field, tear it up a little bit, have a little fun. So a lot of hockey players, right? There's a lot of hockey players in Minnesota that became race car drivers. So there is definitely a tie there for sure. A little disclaimer to get things started. I mean, us three knuckleheads like to talk racing, right? We like to have a little fun. We like to share some facts, what's going on. We like to share our opinions. Sometimes that's popular. Sometimes not so much. Sometimes people get their feelings hurt. If you're really soft, right? If you're one of those that gets your feelings hurt really easy, might not be for you. This might not be the show for you. The opinions that we share may or may not be, right? Sometimes they're shared by our sponsors, but not always, right? So we're going to maybe swear a little bit once in a while because we're racers, right? That's what we do. That's just part of it. So if you got little kids, maybe just, let them, you decide as a parent if it's something you want them to listen to. But needless to say, we are who we are. We have a hell of a lot of fun, maybe rock the boat a little bit, but that's all part of it. So 2024 underway here. So little shout out here to our sponsor of the show, Impact Health Sharing. So if you are a business owner, self-employed, truck driver, in real estate, network marketing, whatever it is, if you pay for your own health insurance and you're looking at it, right, and you're like, man, I pay too much, or I barely ever go to the doctor and I'm paying this kind of money to not even go to the doctor, or maybe you can't go to the doctor of your choice because they're not in network, right? If any of those are something that maybe you're kind of struggling with, hit me up either Facebook Messenger. You can text me, call me, 218-969-1380. I have a great alternative that can probably help you save a ton of money on health insurance costs for 2024. So let's get started, boys. The biggest news, in my opinion, right? The biggest news kind of over the holiday, the last few weeks of the holiday, is the tsunami called Barry Braun and XR. Oh my God, guys. I mean, it's one thing to have 100 grand to win super late model races, 100 grand to win World of Outlaws sprint car races. But he announced in the last month, right? Not one, not two, but 300,000 to win races. The first one that, of course, came to fruition, the big deal, unified modified rules, basically representatives in the class from IMCA, WSOTA, USRA, USMTS, UMP, all of them coming together under a unified rules package to race for 100 grand at the Mississippi Thunder Speedway. So that's going to be a great event. There is some heavy hitters in all three of these events. The next one that came out, the Yankee Dirt Track Classic, August, right? That's in end of August. 300 entries at the 300 Raceway, Farley, Iowa. This is a street stock car, whatever you want to call. Unified rules. So you got WSOTA street stocks, IMCA stock cars, right? USRA stock cars. Barry, what pisses me off, and they got 300 cars, so he doesn't need to freaking change anything. I get it. My boy Dave Delciak, right, track champ last year at Sycamore, his car, UMP legal. It's UMP. Got to have a whole different car to race that. Bert, we started looking at a lot of different schedules coming out, 20 grand to win, 10 grand to win, all these big events for IMCA stock cars. I'm like, Dave, you got to sell that shit box that you got, right? Get rid of that thing. Get an IMCA stock car, and an IMCA stock car would compete just fine with USRA or with UMP. It would be just fine. But man, I wish you'd get rid of that thing, get an IMCA car, so that way we can go play for some big money, because there's one kind of big money show. It's like 4 grand to win at Fairbury, but that's it. And then the third one that came out, 604 late model nationals for the 604 crates. That's going to be this next December at Golden Isles in Brunswick, Georgia. So when you guys saw this stuff just happening, right? And literally, we're talking $500 entry fee. Okay, now in my mind initially, I'm like, well, holy shit, $500 entry fee. Who the hell's going to do that? Every single one of these events was sold out within 24 hours. It's insane. Your guys' thoughts?
Well, I mean, obviously, the dollar amount jumps out at you, and it's nice for these drivers to be able to race for that to win. I didn't look at the payout on down. I don't even know if they released the payout on down, so I don't know how much it drops and whatnot. But two things come to mind. You had mentioned your friend can't race because he has a UMP car, and this is the reason, this is part of the reason why Eastern Wisconsin's late model count doesn't increase, is because Eastern Wisconsin is IMCA dominated. So the drivers in the stock car division, mod divisions, they just want to stay in those divisions because they're competitive in those divisions. And as you can see, they can race for big money, and they can race at a lot more locations than they can in a late model. And the second thing that comes to mind is, we've talked a lot about this on the show, is about the cost of racing increasing. Well, as nice as these shows are, this is the reason the cost of racing is increasing, because, even if you're just a weekly racer who's struggling to get by, if you're racing in this race, you're going to try to buy the best of the parts that you can, so you can try to compete with the upper echelon drivers.
Coach?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's, anytime you can throw that amount of money to win $100,000, I don't care what class it is. I think it's going to be pretty cool. It's going to draw a lot of cars. It's going to draw a lot of attention. The emotions of it, running for that feature, these guys have never raced for that kind of money. What's going to happen coming down to those last few laps? They're going to panic. They're going to start taking each other out. There's a whole bunch of stuff going into all that stuff. But, like Bert said, I mean, is this driving the cost of the sport up? I mean, obviously, I think it is. And there's a huge problem with the cost of racing right now, Ryan. You know that. Bert knows that too. Let alone the drivers, let alone tracks that got to try to operate this day and age to keep the doors open. So, when you see a 604 crate late model, is that what that's all about? I just saw, Kyle Bronson posted his Longhorns, roller for sale, a 604 car, and there are not too many people out there can afford a 604 car, especially Kyle Bronson's brand new Longhorn. So is that what the 604 crate was meant to be? Was it meant to have $70,000 in a roller, and then and that was turnkey actually? So I mean, is that what it's meant to be? And is it meant to race for $100,000? I don't know. It's same with the stock cars. The Wissota Street, costs are completely out of control right now, and the stock cars are getting out of control. So is this the right thing to do for the sport? Probably overall, probably no. But given right now, it's go big or go home. It's right now with the way it is right now, you better have some big events, and you better try and give her a whirl and, see if you can't make some money. So yeah, the excitement's huge, but at the end of the day, we got to look, is this what's best, for the dirt track racing in the long run?
Well, I look at that. I got a couple rebuttals there to a couple things you said. So the 604 late models, like in the Wissota country, right? That's kind of a lower end class, right? That's kind of down, in my eyes, below the super stocks, kind of around street stocks. Down south, though, you get down to Georgia, Florida, Tennessee, they don't run any kind of like super late models or anything weekly. Their top late model class, that is the 604 late models. So that is their top class down there every single week. So down there, it kind of makes a little bit more sense. It's no different than the modified deal up here. Mississippi Thunder, right? Their top class modifieds. Down there, their top class 604 late model. So it kind of comes in. And then you look at a guy like Barry Braun. Barry Braun's not a racetrack promoter. He's a promoter, right? He's an event promoter. So it's on I kind of look at it, I totally agree. Like these big events with all this big money definitely raises the bar on how much people are going to spend. But, it's kind of on the track promoters to build that fan base weekly and kind of create that culture and kind of get the longevity of the sport. And when a guy like this comes in and throws some big money around, hey, that's just a bonus. So, but it makes it tough, right? Because, I was talking to my buddy Dave, right? Dulciak, and of course he can't participate in any of this stuff because he's got a UMP car. But we were kind of talking, for the 2024 season of just looking at all the schedules within a, couple 2-3 hour radius and going, let's race every big race we can. And then when there's not a big race going on, then we'll race Sycamore. Well, that's not good for weekly racing, right? But the fact is it only pays, $300 or maybe $350 to win on a regular night, right? So it's like, in order to justify it and keep going financially, you need to race some of these big events. So it's a very slippery slope. And, and I see both sides of it. It's definitely exciting. And I think this is going to create it has the potential to create a true David versus Goliath type of deal, right? Because all three of these events have some big names, some very accomplished, talented, top tier drivers, and then a whole mix of everybody else. Do you think that maybe we could see all three of these races being won by somebody that's not necessarily that super top tier guy, or do you think somebody that it's just going to be the rich getting richer? What do you think?
I think you could have, I mean, not necessarily an unknown, but, you know, more of a weekly racer, lesser known driver. I think you could see one of those drivers win. I mean, especially in the stock car division, because that division is kind of set up where, you know, to keep the cars close together on the track. So I think you could possibly see that.
There's nothing stock about a stock car.
Well, I know.
Hey, I tell you what, it's going to be exciting. I do have a fan question in relation to this, but first, a quick shout out to Brad Parson, our buddy over there in northwestern Minnesota, western Minnesota. Brad Parson Soil and Ag Solutions. So if you're in northwestern Minnesota, North Dakota, South Dakota, primarily the eastern side of those states, if you're in agriculture, if you're in farming, and you're looking at 2024 going, how can I make more money, right? Higher yields, right? Higher yields creates more income. How can you be more profitable? I'd recommend giving Brad a call, 320-219-3542. He's got a lot of different products that you can mix with your current spray packages. Do a parcel of land, do some testing. He's got all the data. Let's see if Brad can help you be more successful in your farming endeavors in 2024. So the fan question comes from Bob. So Bob asked, he goes, you know, with the big payouts here, XR's got a lot of stuff going on, right? They got the XR Northern Storm, right? That's paying big money for Wissota. They got the XR Super Series. They got these 3 100,000 to win races for, you know, what we would consider support classes typically. There's 6 XR Super Series late model events slated for the 2024 season. Being that these 3 races all pay $100,000 to win, right? Do you feel like those late model races are going to pay $100,000 to win? Or do you look at those and be like, well, holy crap, if them pay $100,000 to win, those are going to pay more? Any predictions here? Bert?
I'm not sure.
Just a prediction. Yes or over and under. The $100,000 to win, are they going to pay the same as that? Or is he going to up the ante and we're going to see some big money for them late model races?
For each individual race,
there's only 6.
I'm going to take the under on 100,000 for each one.
Okay, Kraus?
I'm taking the over just to take the over because I want to see some big money. And if he's only running 6, he's going bigger. It's just the way he is. He's going big. He's not going to let them late model guys sit there and whine and complain that a bunch of stock car guys are running for $100,000 and I'm running for 50. So he's going big.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the over as well. And I know that he kind of put a little teaser out there, right, that he's going to be making some kind of an announcement here, but nothing quite yet. But keep an eye on that. I think we could. I mean, $100,000 is a huge money already, but man, it could be very interesting to see what happens with that 6-event late model series. So there was some racing over the past couple weekends. Not a lot, but there was a couple pretty cool events that happened. First, a shout out to our friends over in Ashland, Wisconsin, Fastlane Motorsports and Powder Coating, the proud sponsor of the #1 series in all of Wissota racing, the Northland Superstock Series. Best car counts out of all of them. Fastlane Motorsports, what do? They do everything. They do powder coating, sandblasting, custom fabricating. They build a Galloper chassis. They sell any parts, tires, safety equipment that you need for all things racing up in northern Wisconsin and the Wissota area, that neck of the woods, check them out at Fastlane Motorsports and Powder Coating, Ashland, Wisconsin. So a little bit of let's start with local, right? Let's start in the States. I know Kraus watched a little bit of this. Bert, I don't know if you did. I did not. But I did catch a couple tidbits that happened out of there. So the big event, right? Tulsa's got that indoor venue. So it starts with the Tulsa Shootout, and then the following week, right, or this coming week is the Chili Bowl. So this year, after Tulsa Shootout, let me look here, get the number, 1,699 entries. 16. That is 100% a Puka event if I've ever heard of one. They started racing at 9 in the morning. There is literally no possible way on God's green earth that I could sit through all of that. It's just not going to happen. I would bet that the people that went there were like, hey, we're going to watch the people we want and kind of mosey around. Can you imagine how much, like, you look at the Gateway Dirt Nationals, and them events were like 8 hours a day, and how shit-faced a lot of them race fans were after that? Can you imagine how drunk they were after one full day at the Tulsa Shootout? Over and under, do you think that, how many people do you think got shipped off to the hospital afterwards from alcohol poisoning? 5? Over, under? I don't know. What do you think? That had to be a lot. So, last year, or this year, Emerson Axum won his 4th Golden Driller. That was the top class, which was the Winged Outlaws. Couple things that I got little tidbits on. The flip count for it, 82 flips was the flip count. And a local guy, Bert, did you do any digging on this? There was no Minnesota drivers that even made a feature. I don't even know if there was only a couple even there. And there was one Wisconsin driver, and he finished 5th in the junior sprints. Jason Peters from Wapua, I believe it is, maybe Wapua, Wisconsin. So he ended up getting a 5th place finish. So congratulations to him on a top 5. That's the lone Minnesota, Wisconsin, upper Midwest guy. I think we lost Bert there, but he'll jump back on. So Coach Kraus, while we're waiting for Bert, you watching this, what stuck out to you? What stuck out to you?
Well, I think the big thing was, the crowds weren't very good during the week, Ryan, and I get that. Like I said, you got to sit there all day, and it's a long week. Like I said, they start at 9 a.m. And that the one thing that sticks out, we got to dig, and we were sitting up in my office, is how big that complex is and that building is. I mean, you got the track, and then you got all the where they park. The complex is absolutely huge. So I thought the crowd was decent on Saturday. I watched tidbits here and there, throughout the week. I just kind of had it on more or less. It is super, super hard to pay attention to every race and know what's going on. They do a really good job. They number every race. So at least you can pull up my race pass and say they're at race 189, and then you'll know exactly what class and who's in that. So you can kind of look at it that way. So they do a really good job with that. And then for the most part, I thought the features were just okay. A lot of people were complaining about the Winged Outlaw class. Why? And there's a memorial. They do a 55 lap, and that's a memorial race. Why are they the premier division? When technically the non-wing outlaw class was kind of where everybody was at. So I know I saw some gripes on Facebook about that, but a couple other tidbits with that. I don't know if you realize, but Ashton Torgerson, he is the one that fell out of his cart last year, out of his midget car at the Chili Bowl. Remember, he was rolling down, and everybody thought the worst. He ended up winning the Winged A class, so that was kind of cool. They just to see, everybody was like, he had a heck of a story there. Him, like I said, falling out of his midget, rolling down the back straightaway, and like I said, everybody thought the worst. And for him to be okay, and then even get back in a cart and then win, that was kind of cool. And then the highlight of probably the week was watching Ricky Thornton Jr. Come through the non-wing outlaw. He was in the E, he went to the D, he went to the C, then he was in the B, but it was hammered down. He was in a really, really tough B, so he didn't get in that. But that was kind of a storyline to watch. I know there's people texting it on Facebook. Obviously when you got somebody big there like that, RTJ, coming through all those races was kind of cool. And then he was leading the, I believe he was leading the stock non-wing, and he blew up. They found rods and the whole 9 yards out on the track. So he probably had that in the bag because he was leading. He started about 8th or 9th and got to the lead, and lap 20, he had the lead and ended up blowing up. So, he had a pretty good showing, and, a lot of people, a lot of kids there, a lot of up and coming people, but just crazy to see the amount of people and where everybody's from, and watching the up and comers. So it's kind of a good lead into the Chili Bowl. And then when the Chili Bowl rolls around, all the big names are going to be at the Chili Bowl.
Yeah, I was kind of keeping an eye on Mike and Iverson, kid from our area, and he came up just a little bit short. It was kind of a bummer he didn't make it in. He's pretty close, so I think he was pretty high up in the B and just came up a little short. I don't know if you guys saw this, but there was a little teaser put out with Ricky Thornton Jr. So they interviewed him at this deal, and they were asking him about fat tire cars, sprint car racing, right? And he said, man, I would love to be in a sprint car. He goes, haven't had the opportunity quite yet. Not really sure if the car owner wants me to. He goes, I'm going to try to maybe get in a sprint car for one of them high limit races this year. So he didn't commit, but he threw a teaser out. Could we see RTJ in a 410 sprint car at a high limit race in 2024, guys?
I'll say yes. Just because that would, I think the series would want to see him in one of those cars for one of their races, just for the attention that it would draw.
Yeah, and he's got sack, man. He's not afraid to get after it, Coach Cross.
Yeah, for sure. We need some more drama. We need, we're all not the RTJ fans as everybody is, but we need a villain. We need a different guy. It's just the way the sport's going right now. Everybody wants to see Kyle Larson in whatever kind of car, and all these guys jumping around, Davenport hopping in an SRX car and winning. You know what I mean? Everybody wants to see all these current big timers in any type of car racing to get for the big money.
Yeah, so keep an eye on that, folks. RTJ possibly in a 410 sprint car in 2024. So speaking of 410 sprint cars, down under in Australia, I got to watch one of the races down there at Perth Motorplex. That place was unbelievable. They had a good crowd, really good broadcast there. Great race between Brad Sweet, Rico Abreu, and one of their local guys. I forget his name. On that particular night, the Big Cat got her done. I know yesterday, Rico Abreu got her done. He parked it in Victory Lane. So a couple of the high limit sprint car hot shoes making some waves. Typically they would be called World of Outlaw guys, but they're not. But some pretty good racing down under. Did you guys? I did not, but have you guys looked to see how did Devin Moran do down there in the late model? Any word on that? Yeah. So jump on Race Monitor, fans. Not my Race Pass. Most of the Aussie stuff's on Race Monitor, and you can scroll through the results. Maybe go to Devin Moran's page. He's down there in a late model. Haven't seen how he did. Maybe put in the comments below here if you've seen any of those races. So 2024 season starts now, right now, right? Now, before we get into that, before we get into the 2024 season, what's coming up first? How about a quick shout out to our friends over at Daytona 1 Performance Lubricants. Now, the founder of this company, Buck, very smart individual. He specializes in the lubricant industry, so much so, right? So much that he's in the Hall of Fame at NASA for lubricants. This guy's made a great impact on the whole industry. And one of his passions is dirt track racing and keeping the costs down so that the average racer can continue to race. We can grow the sport. Well, how do you do that? Simply by making stuff last longer. That's a big key. So he's got all kinds of different products. We've talked at length about some of the tire products. Here's one of his products right here. So he's got a product called XL1 engine treatment. Okay. So what does that do? Well, exactly what it says. It's engine treatment. You put that in with your oil when you change oil, and you're going to get possibly a horsepower gain, right? It's proven. It's been on the dyno. They actually call this particular product horsepower in a bottle. Also, superior protection. It's going to reduce friction and engine noise. And for your daily drivers, right? Maybe for your hauler, How about a little increase in fuel economy because of that reduced friction? And if you're up in northern Minnesota, maybe a little cold weather startup help is going to help as well. Give Chad a call. He's the area representative, 507-828-3536 to get all the information you can about this particular product, all the other products, their tire treatments, and more. That's Daytona 1 Performance Lubricants. So, guys, this is the week, right? I mean, IMCA racing starts tonight. I think it's, what are they down at Kokopah tonight or whatever? We're doing this show on Wednesday. But the big one we're looking forward to this weekend, of course, the Wild West Shootout down at Vado, New Mexico. And what are you guys looking forward to? I mean, there was some great racing there last year. Some of them races were highly entertaining. Anything come to mind? I have a couple little tidbits here. I got the winners from 2023. I'll roll them off in a second. But what are you looking forward to at Vado?
I'm looking forward to Kyle Larson racing. He hasn't raced a late model since I think it was June since he last raced a late model. So it'll be good to see him back in a late model. See if Bobby Pierce can pick up where he left off in 2023. And, I believe Sam Mars is going to be down there racing. So we'll see how he does in the super late model.
Yeah, Jake Tim heading down as well. Jake Tim bringing his late model down. No mod, though. He's only bringing the late model down. I was kind of surprised by that. Coach Kraus, what are you looking forward to down at Vado?
Just watching the locals, watching those guys go down there, all the Wissota locals that we have up there that go down there and race, whether it's a couple in the late models. And then obviously Ricky Weiss is always going to be a local to us. I know he's a big timer now, but being a former Wissota national champion, always fun to watch him, watching the mod guys and then the ex-mod guys too. There's usually a bunch of those guys that go down there too, and they always put on a good show. So for me, it's just watching the locals and making sure our Wissota guys are doing well down there.
Yeah, absolutely. And typically, the Wild West Shootout has been dominated by Wissota. I know Skeeter Estes won the championship. Cole Searing's won the championship. So I think Lucas Rodin. So there's been several of our guys gone down there. Last year, K-Jack kind of dominated the deal. He actually won 4 of 6 down there. Now, I don't know if he's going. I know that he maybe a little salty because he was leading the USRA B-Mod National Championship race at the end of last year and kind of got that pulled out from underneath him. He got caught with some engine stuff. We'll just say I think it was cylinder heads that he got caught with and ended up getting stripped of a national title there. But K-Jack, I expect him to be good. Lucas Rodin won 1 of the 6, and then Reese Solander was the other winner. So kind of looking, I haven't talked to Lucas Rodin. I'm kind of hoping he goes down. In the modifieds last year, Derek Ramirez, he won 50% of the races. He won 3 of 6. Jake O'Neill, Tom Berry Jr., and Tyler Wolf, the other 3 winners. And then in the late models, it literally looked to start out last year like, is JD going to lose, right? Because he came off the year before, 2022, earning a lot of money, right? $2 million plus, right? And he won the first 3 nights down there at Vado. It's like, holy cow. Well, then it was Pierce, Marlar, Pierce the next 3. And JD had a good year, but not anything like the year before. Now, you mentioned Ricky Weiss there. Weiss ran good down there, guys, last year. I mean, he had some solid runs. He had a 3rd, 5th, 4th, 6th, 3rd, and then he had 10th on the final night. I think he had some issues there, but he kind of was on the podium, kind of around the top 5. Could Ricky Weiss be a front runner down there? He didn't race much last year. Would you expect to see Ricky Weiss? Let's go with this. Top 5 finishes, over and under. I'm going to go the number 2, over and under top 5 finishes for Weiss. Bert, Coach, what do you guys think?
I'll go under.
I'm going over. Ricky's going to have he's always good down there. So I'm going to take the over, and hopefully Ricky has a good week down there.
Yeah, good luck to all the Wissota guys down there. Ricky Weiss, of course, we call him a Wissota guy. To him, there's going to be mod guys, ex-mod guys, late model guys. Jake Tim, going to be cool to see the next generation of Mars racing. Sam Mars getting behind a super late model. Great pedigree there. Of course, his dad won so many races. Illustrious Hall of Fame career. Sam Mars, I mean, he's got it in the genes, right? Grandpa, Paul Gilbert was a great racer. Jimmy Mars, Hall of Famer. Looking forward to see Sam Mars grow as a late model racer. So that's going to be fun to watch. Oh, go ahead.
I just wanted to point out, you had mentioned that Jake O'Neill won a modified race last year. And this year he's going to be racing a late model down there. So it'll be interesting to see him in a late model.
Yeah, the first 2 nights he's going to only run the late model. Then after that, the mod's coming in. I think he's going to do double duty after that. So yeah, Jake O'Neill's dabbled a little bit in a late model.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a tough crowd. They got quite the contingent of drivers down there. This might be the best group of drivers collectively that they've had at the Wild West in quite a while. Of course, they upped the purse this year. That's on Flow Racing. That'll be fun to watch. Another thing on Flow Racing, we're a week away from it yet, so you guys can talk about it a little bit more next week. But of course, the Chili Bowl coming up. Last year, Logan Seavey parking it in Victory Lane. That's something to look forward to. And just over a week away. It's next Monday that starts. And then this weekend too, Talladega Ice Bowl, kind of down in the south there. That's one of those illustrious big event. It's been going on for many, many years. Last year, do you guys remember who won last year? Ray Cook. Ray Cook parked it in Victory Lane. Now, is there a better chance of Ray Cook winning and going back to back, or Michael Page getting disqualified for cheating? Which one?
I'll say Ray Cook.
Oh, Bert, you're so soft. You just got done going to a hockey game. You're supposed to toughen up, right? Kind of throw some punches. Coach, do you agree with Bert? There's better odds of Ray Cook doubling up, or do you think there's better chance of Michael Page getting the boot again?
There's way better chance of Michael Page getting the boot. Bert. Come on.
He's got it for everything. Engines, right? Tires, you name it. So here's another over and under. So last year, of course, they had 371 cars, another Puka event. But you got to remember, Talladega, down in the south, there's no drinking in the grandstands. That's family section, no alcohol. By rule, if you want to drink at the Talladega short track, you have to be in the pits. Okay? So over and under, 2 brawls that are caught on film and posted on Facebook over the weekend of the Ice Bowl.
Over.
That's an over. They obviously, I don't know what they're doing, but that's backwards. It's Alabama. What do you expect, right? I mean, you think that I have no problem with having one side being non-alcohol or a family side, but come on, putting them in the stands and then in the pits, they're asking for trouble.
Oh my God. I think back to the old days up north. I mean, if there was drinking in the pits at our home tracks, there would have been fist fights every single night without question. And there was half the time anyway, but it would have been really bad with alcohol. So 2023 Pick'em season starting now. Of course, we're going to be picking the Chili Bowl, and we're going to pick this weekend. We're just going to do mods and lates at the Wild West. Once we know who's there for X mods, we're going to do all 3 classes next week. But quick shout out to one of our newer sponsors, Coach Kraus, Elevate Visual. Tell these folks about Elevate Visual.
Yeah, elevate-visual.com. So you can hop on the website. So he's a video production guy. Brandon does a real good job into doing video, drone work. If you have any real estate or any land or any housing developments, you want to get some drone work done, give Brandon a shout out, elevate-visual.com. He also has a Facebook page. And like I said, he's top notch and does a great job. He's got some stuff up there right now you can take a look at too. He just did one of my buddies of mine places over out in the country, and it's just awesome to see the drone work and the stuff he does. So make sure you hop on Facebook and check out elevate-visual.com.
Great job, Brandon. Thanks a lot, man. And we got some new people in the Pick'ems this year. So last year, our champion, boy, I don't know if I say his name right. He'll tell me if I didn't. But Curtis Hoening, I'm not really sure. It's a unique spelling. He's going to have to correct me on that one. He won the championship last year. Of course, Bert Lehman, you're back at it this year. We got Dan Filto, Brad Duino, Mike Bromwich, Kent Chon, myself, Jeff Erickson, who helps us out a lot. Of course, Coach Kraus in the pick'ems this year. Your cohort, right? We got Dan Kalina. They think I'm opinionated. That guy, you got to check out the Dirt Podcast. That guy will make you blush a little bit. He's not scared. And of course, my old right-hand man, Changa, Jim McClellan, going to join in the mix. So good luck, gentlemen, on the 2024 pick'ems. So one more fan feedback here that we got, and this is going to be kind of a delayed one, but fan feedback brought to you by Dirt Track Supply over in Watertown, South Dakota. Ron and Trevor Anderson, great ambassadors to the sport. They build the aero chassis, and they do it all, right? They do fabricating in-house. They do bodies. They do bumpers. They do whatever you need. They can get any parts. I mean, if you simply just want to talk racing, get some advice, those are great guys to talk to. They've been there, done that. They service a lot of racetracks. So for all things racing, check out Dirt Track Supply, Watertown, South Dakota. So Ricky sent this in, and he says, man, I missed you guys. Like, he goes, this whole week off, 2 weeks off thing, I can't handle it anymore. I'm glad you guys are back. And he goes, I was having a little bit of racing withdrawals. Thanks for all you do, and looking forward to 2024. He goes, now, with soda racing, there's not a lot being talked about right now, right? I mean, the season doesn't start till April. There's really not a lot going on in the off season. He goes, so to kind of talk a little bit with soda racing, is it possible that you three could over the next few weeks, over the off season, kind of do a blast to the past, which I miss, he says. We did that segment for a while, and maybe take the WISSOTA classes and just go by decades, and each of you say, hey, who's the top three? When you think 1980s, 1990s, 2000s, right? 2010s, 2020s, 5 decades, right? When you think about WISSOTA racing in each of these particular classes, who are the top 3 guys that come to mind in each particular decade? I think that would be kind of fun to kind of do a little throwback on that. We can take a week or two, and he kind of once we get our list together, we can maybe do 1 week. We do each class or whatever during the off season. What do you guys think? You up for it?
I'll try with what limited knowledge I have of WISSOTA from the earlier years.
Bert, you got a lot more WISSOTA knowledge than you give yourself. Come on now there, guy. And really what comes to mind for you, right? Because it's not it's not necessarily who was the best 3 in each class. It's simply when it comes to you from the 1990s, who do you think about in that particular class? It doesn't. Okay. Your list might not match mine, might not match Jeff's. That's okay.
And actually, Eastern Wisconsin was in WISSOTA for late models in the 1990s and part of the 80s also.
Yes, they were. Yes, they were. We kind of miss them. Wish they were back, but I can understand why they're not. So the last lap here, guys, a little bit of racing news, a little tidbits, and maybe you guys have First of all, I guess I'll start with you guys. The last lap type stuff here, right? Is there anything that maybe we don't have on the list that stuck out that, news in your particular areas that maybe we haven't touched on? What's going on in your guys' necks of the woods that we haven't heard about quite yet?
It's pretty quiet here in Eastern Wisconsin. Luxembourg Speedway is still looking for a promoter. Actually, it was posted yesterday. Shawano Speedway is looking for a race director, so we'll see where that goes.
Bert Lehman, race director, Shawano Speedway 2024. All right, I like it.
No.
So Cedar Lake Speedway, right? Of course, take it for what it is, right? Some of the WISSOTA loyals are like, Cedar Lake. Cedar Lake's the Mecca, right? Cedar Lake for many years has been the Mecca of racing in our area. It just is what it is. Big announcement from them, guys. Big announcement. SRX, Tony Stewart's SRX series coming to the Cedar Lake Speedway. I had somebody post in the comments that, this deal's not going to be any good. Nobody's going to go. Do you think the fan count at the SRX event can rival the USA Nationals fan count?
Yes, I do believe it can. This series was at Slinger Speedway, not this last year, but the year prior to that. And if I remember correctly, it was one of the biggest events ever held at that track. And granted, that was a asphalt track, and this is mostly an asphalt series. But anytime you get Tony Stewart and other well-known drivers, you're going to get the non-regulars to show up because they want to see those drivers race. I mean, say what you will about NASCAR and all the other national series, you can say they suck, whatever. People still want to see those drivers race, and when they come to your area, they go to the races to see that.
Coach?
Yeah, for sure. It's gonna be a big event. Your demographic is completely different. I mean, you're talking IndyCar guys, NASCAR guys. Now, who knows who's going to be the special guest there? They're going to bring in somebody. Whether it's a Donnie Schatz or a Davenport or a Bloomquist. They're going to try to get somebody, or I don't know if there's anybody locally that could step up to the plate for that. But you're dealing your range of fans here. It's beyond Minnesota and Wisconsin. I mean, you're talking this is a nationwide deal. So, and then the flip side of it is tight quarters at Cedar Lake with those SRX cars. I don't know if you watched any of those SRX races last year, but they destroy stuff. They literally destroyed those cars at Eldora last year, and you're talking way more tight quarters with concrete. So it's going to be an interesting fun race, and those guys don't care. Just ask Paul Tracy. Those guys don't care about those cars and equipment. So I think it'd be pretty cool. And it's always fun to see those guys just around. And the big thing is you get to interact with them too. You know what I mean? You can walk up to them and talk to them and see them. A lot of times at IndyCar and NASCAR events, these guys are so secluded you can't get to them. Series are doing a lot better job of getting drivers involved with the fans. And I expect it to be a very big event. And I'm going to watch it. Should be fun to watch.
Yeah, I'm excited for it.
Do they have a provision where a local driver is going to get to race one of the cars?
I have not heard yet.
Okay. The reason I asked is because when they were in Slinger 2 years ago, the winner of the Slinger Nationals got the race in the SRX race. And Luke Fenhaus, teenager, won the Slinger Nationals, and he almost won the SRX race. And that really kind of catapulted his career a little bit, and he's raced down south a little bit since then. So I was just curious if there's going to be a local driver of some sort allowed in there.
We'll have to keep an eye on that for sure. That's something that's definitely a possibility, and we'll keep everybody informed, of course. Speaking of provisionals, the XR, the big deal, the big mod race at Mississippi Thunder. So Barry Braun, of course, owns XR, and then you got Trenton Berry with Racing Dirt. They're working together. Trenton Berry, part of the promoter group at Mississippi Thunder. Well, they brought in another promoter group, right? So they're actually tying in with Chris Steppen, FYE Motorsports, and they have the Minnesota and Wisconsin Mod Nationals, the Minnesota modified 4-night event over, I think, Memorial Day weekend. The overall point getter for those events, whoever accumulates the most points, gets an automatic provisional into the $100,000 to win big deal event at Mississippi Thunder. So kind of neat to see everybody kind of working together, and a Wissota guy with obviously a guarantee getting into the race. So hats off to Barry Braun for working together as a group with all those other promoters. 411 Speedway, Seymour, Tennessee. Of course, they've had several big races over the past several years, big late model events. I happened to notice, I saw a little post on Facebook, very limited schedule this year. They're only going to run like 5 shows, 6 shows. And that seems like it's kind of popping up all over the country. With this special event mindset, a lot of promoters are like, well, we just can't run every single weekend. So, good or bad for the sport, tracks limiting going down to a 5-6 event series over the course of a season. What kind of impact is that going to have on overall racing in their area? Bert, what do you think?
Okay, say that again.
So 411 Speedway, they're only going to run like 5 or 6 total shows. They're not going to have weekly racing at all. And of course, we saw Cheyenne Speedway in Lisbon with Bitkers over there. I think they're doing 4 races over there. More and more of that happening, right? More and more, because it's special event mentality. Is that good or bad?
It's not necessarily bad. I mean, if the alternative is the track is going to close completely, then I don't think that's a bad thing, because at least there's racing at that track. So I don't think it's totally bad.
Coach?
Yeah, I don't know. It's there's a lot of pros and cons of these things, but at the end of the day, is there too much racing right now? Like I said, we're January, we're just rolling here, and we're already talking about Arizona and Tulsa and the Chili Bowl, and I kind of look at it as this, playing hockey year round. I think it's hurt the sport. Being a hockey player year round, I think it's definitely hurt the sport. So it's cutting down and saying, hey, maybe less shows is going to bring in for that area. It's going to make more excitement for that area when you have less shows, instead of people being used to every Friday or Saturday night. Here we go. We got to go back to the racetrack again. So it's good to see there's a lot of crash test dummies out there, so you can hop on board. So it's good. You got to take your pros and cons with this and say, hey, look at it as positive, and then also, when it does happen, look at it as a negative. So I think it's really area. What do you have going on in that area? Is there a lot of racing? Is there not a lot of racing? Is there too much racing? Is there too much stuff to do that, cutting down to 6 shows? Are our fans going to all of a sudden double just because we have less shows? Well, then it's going to be a win-win. So there's a lot of scenarios to look in that. And, as a promoter, I'm definitely going to keep track and watch that stuff and see how it works out for them.
Yeah, so Scott Duvall, he bought what used to be the Monster Hall Speedway. He renamed it Spring Lake Speedway a few years ago back. It was around 2016. And he kind of was on the whole, I'm going to run every other week type of deal. And he didn't get down to the 5 shows, but every other week. They ended up having, now he had a lot of gimmicks, right, to bring in fan base. They had over 1,200 people about every night over there. But 5 shows, I don't know. I was talking to my buddy Jim about this, and Bemidji, right? I'll just be honest, right? For years, people are like, it's freaking Bemidji, hillbilly racing, Bemidji. That's kind of what we said. It is what it is, right? But the fact is, they might be the only ones that get it, right? And the reason I say that is, a lot of tracks are like, oh, we got to have late models, or we got to have mods. We got to have these top classes. And I enjoy all the classes. A good late model race is great. A good mod race is great. But they kind of look at it a little differently, right? They look at it as, what can the people in my area afford to race, right? So they got mini stocks, they got mod 4s, they got Hornets, they got pure stocks. They got 4 kind of lower end cost-wise classes and pretty darn good car counts in all 4 of those classes. Well, guess what? Those events are just as entertaining. If you get 20 pure stocks out there and putting on a race, they can be as entertaining as a 20-car late model race on a regular night. So I think part of the reason, we could go on for hours about this, but part of the reason weekly racing is kind of dying is because the focus has been too much on the so-called top tier classes, and only so many people can afford to have them. So by default, the car counts aren't going to be as good. So that's just my thoughts. It'll be interesting to see. So our last segment, 3 bold predictions. Again, on to a new chapter here, new season. A couple things came off the board. Coach Kraus off the board. You said RTJ was going to be on the podium at the Tulsa shootout. Now, you didn't necessarily specify he ran multiple classes. He did not finish on the podium. He would have won 1, which by default would have got you the point, but his blown motor means he did not. Bert, you said the Tulsa shootout was going to break the record for car count. 2022, they had 1,739, little bit short at 1,699. Looks like 40 cars light, but they were close. They were super close, so that was a no. You said that the top division at the Tulsa shootout, which is the Winged Outlaw, would have a repeat winner. And that Emerson Axum went back-to-back, so you got a point there. So good job on that. And I said at least 2 drivers from the Gopher State, Minnesota, would be in the top 10 between all the classes that were there. At least 2 of the drivers in the top 10 combined would be from Minnesota. I don't think there was a Minnesota driver in any of the evenings, period. So that did not quite work out for me. So this week's predictions, guys, we have, of course, Coach Kraus going to have his own category this year. So it's going to be me, Bert, Coach Kraus, and the Peanut Gallery is going to have their own. That would be the fans, the listeners, the viewers. So as a fan, right, if you have 3 predictions, and we do this every week, typically racing related, show related, something that either flat out, yes, it did happen, or no, it didn't happen. If you have 3 bold predictions that you want maybe talked about on the air and you want to get on record and be like, this is going to happen, we will absolutely get your predictions out there. Message them to me, message them to Bert, message them to the show, whatever you got to do, message them to Kraus. But let's make 3 laps around the track. We're going to go Bert. We'll go Coach Kraus. Then I got some from Good Jeff here, and I got myself. So, Bert, green flag on 2024. What's your first prediction?
I am going to say that Kyle Larson finishes better than Bobby Pierce in both features this weekend. Both late model features this weekend.
Kyle Larson beats Bobby Pierce. Bobby Pierce in both features. All right. Shots fired. Coach Kraus?
I'm going just this weekend only. I'm going back-to-back winners in the mods. So same guys winning Saturday and Sunday in the mods.
Okay. Off the record, do you have a prediction who that might be?
Well, I think I had different winners in my pick'em, of course, with our pick'em group that's going on right now with those yahoos. I don't know how much longer we're going to be able to take those guys, but I figured I'd give them maybe a shout out or I'd rip on them on the show. But I think we're going to go Rodney Sanders. I think he's going to go back to back.
Okay. So Good Jeff here. He has a little Kyle Larson prediction. I think he agrees with Bert. He said Kyle Larson is going to sweep the weekend. He's going to be overall fast time both nights. So if there's a rain out, if one night counts. So in all the races that happen this weekend at Vado, Kyle Larson will sweep. He'll have fast time, win the heat, and win the feature on all the nights they race this weekend in the late model. So I'm going to stick with the Wild West shootout myself, and I'm going to go X mod. And I'm going to say Wissota Midwest mod drivers will win at least 2 X mod features down at the Wild West shootout. They won only 1 last year. They're going to double that count, win at least 2 this year in 2024. Bert?
All right. I'm going to stay in the Wild West shootout and say Sam Mars will get a top 15 finish in at least one of the late model features.
Okay, that'd be good to see. It'd be good to see Sam Mars get some success down there early in the season. Coach Kraus?
Sticking Wild West shootout, my same deal here. I'm going back-to-back winners in the late models as well. Same guy's going to win the late models this weekend, and I got to go Bobby Pierce. He's going to be super tough to beat down there. I think he's on a mission this year. I think he's going to be the top guy all year. So that's my prediction for that.
All right. Okay. Good Jeff here has a Cedar Lake Speedway prediction. He goes, Cedar Lake Speedway outdoor venue, not the go-kart tracks, the outdoor venue will open as scheduled in 2024. There'll be no weather delays. The opening night that's on the schedule for Cedar Lake Speedway will happen in April. I'm going to go to the Wild West shoot. Yeah, we kind of sniped him on a pick there on the go-kart deal there. So I'm going to go Wild West shootout here as well. Longhorn sweep for the late models at the Wild West shootout. All the features in the late model division, horns up, Longhorn sweeps it.
You know, the reason I was laughing is that the rate we're going, we could be racing in March because, I mean, we don't have any snow here. I don't know what it's like in Minnesota or western Wisconsin.
I tell you what, I'm not getting too anxious. It snows a lot in March. You know what? I'm going to parlay that bet, okay? Because I think there's so many Longhorns down there. I think that's a little too easy. So I'm going to parlay that one, guys. I'm going to say Longhorn sweeps and Brandon Shepherd wins at least 2.
All right, I'm going to go to the Chili Bowl and say that at least 2 drivers who race late models full-time will make the A feature at the Chili Bowl.
Oh, shit, you sniped me. I like literally. I'm gonna have to up the ante on mine. So you got 2 late model drivers, okay, that I will make the feature at the Chili Bowl. All right, Coach Kraus.
Last one. We're staying with the Wild West Shootout. I'm gonna have a little fun with this one. It's all 3 classes. There's going to be at least one past WISSOTA national champion that is going to win a feature at the Wild West Shootout. So I know there's a few down there. Ricky Weiss, Don Shaw. There might be a couple other you've had to win a national championship in the past in WISSOTA. So I'm going to say they're going to
Zach Johnson down there.
Zach Johnson. There's be a few more down there. So kind of just want to do something a little cool here. Be bold about it. And then keep our listeners on their toes. Hopefully we can get a past or current. Obviously, there's still current national champions that are going to get a win down the Wild West Shootout.
There we go. So Good Jeff's got speaking of WISSOTA national championships, this guy's got the most of them. The Ironman, Shane Sabraski. I haven't seen anything or heard anything concrete. I haven't seen any announcements about him being in a late model, but I've heard a lot of rumblings that might happen. So Good Jeff says this: Shane Sabraski will have a WISSOTA late model A main win before July 4th. That's kind of a pretty bold prediction, being that he doesn't even know if he's going to be in one for sure. So I have the Chili Bowl, so I literally had the same pick, 2 late model drivers in the A main. So I'm going to have to up the ante. So 2 late model. I'll stick with that part of it. There's going to be at least 2 late model drivers that make the A main at the Chili Bowl, but at least one of them is going to finish in the top 10. So there we have it, gentlemen. First show 2024 in the books. So I'm actually heading out. I'm going on a cruise here, leaving in a couple days. So you guys are going to have to do the show without me. Puka's prediction going to be off because he said that I'm not going to miss the show. We're going to have Puka maybe step in, see what he's got doing. But any closing thoughts before we sign off, guys?
No, just have fun on your cruise. Relax a little bit. Let the stress fade away.
Sounds good. Well, hey, always good chatting racing with you guys. As always, I'm Ryan Aho. That is Bert Lehman. That is Coach Jeff Kraus. Thanks for tuning in to the One to Go Show.